Hello and welcome to today's episode on Advice CEO Podcast, where we'll be discussing The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. This book explores the complex relationship between human behavior and financial decision-making and offers practical advice for building wealth and achieving financial security. Today, we'll be diving into the top 10 most important lessons from the book, and we'll be using stories and analogies to help illustrate each point. So let's get started.
Lesson 1. Luck plays a much greater role in financial success than we often realize. Story. In the book, Housel tells the story of Ronald Reed, a janitor and gas station attendant who amassed a fortune of $8 million through patient, long-term investing. Reed didn't have any special knowledge or expertise. He simply invested consistently over a period of decades and happened to pick a few winning stocks along the way. His story highlights the important role that luck can play in financial success. Another example of the role of luck in financial success comes from the story of the Silicon Six, a group of tech billionaires who have seen their fortunes soar in recent years. Housel points out that much of their success can be attributed to luck, as they happen to be in the right place at the right time with the right idea. Analogy. Housel compares investing to a game of poker, where luck plays a significant role in determining the outcome. Just as a skilled poker player can make the best decisions possible, but still lose due to bad luck, an investor can make the best choices possible, but still experience losses due to factors beyond their control. Housel compares luck to a tailwind, which can make it easier to sail smoothly towards our financial goals. Just as a tailwind can make a sailboat move faster and more easily, luck can make it easier to achieve financial success.
Lesson 2. Time is one of the most powerful drivers of wealth. Story. Housel tells the story of Grace Groner, who never earned more than $15,000 a year during her lifetime. However, she lived frugally and invested her money wisely, and by the time of her death, her investments had grown to over $7 million. This story illustrates the power of compound interest over time. Another example of the power of time comes from the story of Warren Buffett, who began investing at the age of 11 and has now been investing for over 80 years. Through consistent, patient investing over a long period of time, Buffett has become one of the richest people in the world. Analogy. Housel compares investing to a snowball rolling down a hill, which starts small but gains momentum over time. Just as a snowball grows larger and larger as it rolls down a hill, investments can grow exponentially over time with the power of compounding. Housel compares investing to planting a tree, which starts small but grows stronger and taller over time. Just as a tree grows slowly but steadily over the years, investments can grow stronger and more valuable over time with patience and consistent care.
Lesson 3. Don't try to time the market, focus on time in the market. Story. Housel tells the story of Bob, who invested $10,000 in the S&P 500 index in 1973 and held on to it for 46 years. Despite the ups and downs of the market, his investment grew to over $500,000 by 2019. This story highlights the importance of staying invested for the long term rather than trying to time the market. Another example of the dangers of market timing comes from the story of John Paulson, a hedge fund manager who made billions of dollars betting against the housing market in the mid-2000s. However, his subsequent attempts to time the market proved disastrous, and he lost billions of dollars in subsequent years. Analogy. Housel compares timing the market to trying to catch a falling knife. It's dangerous and unpredictable. Just as it's impossible to predict exactly when a knife will hit the ground, it's impossible to predict exactly when the market will rise or fall. Housel compares trying to time the market to trying to catch a fly with chopsticks. It's difficult and unlikely to succeed. Just as it's difficult to catch a fly with chopsticks, it's difficult to time the market perfectly.
Lesson 4. The biggest risk in investing is not the stock market, it's our own behavior. Story. Housel tells the story of the lost decade of the 2000s, when the stock market experienced a series of sharp drops and recoveries. Many investors panicked and sold their investments, only to miss out on the subsequent market recoveries. Another example of the risks of behavioral finance comes from the story of Enron, a company that collapsed in 2001 due to fraudulent accounting practices. Many employees had invested their retirement savings in Enron stock, despite warnings from financial experts. Analogy. Housel compares investing to a roller coaster ride. It can be scary, but it's important to hold on and stay the course. Just as a roller coaster can be scary, investing can be volatile and unpredictable, but it's important to stay invested for the long term. Housel compares investing to a game of hot potato. If you hold onto a risky investment too long, you'll get burned. Just as playing hot potato with a burning object is risky, holding onto a risky investment for too long can be dangerous.
Lesson 5. It's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. Story. Housel tells the story of Ken Fisher, a billionaire investor who made his fortune through savvy investments and wise financial decisions. However, he also made a series of bad investments and financial mistakes, which ultimately cost him millions of dollars. Another example of the importance of wise financial decisions comes from the story of Charles Schwab, who founded a successful investment firm in the 1970s. Schwab was known for his frugal lifestyle and wise financial decisions, which helped him build and maintain his wealth over time. Analogy. Housel compares financial success to a bathtub. If you don't plug the drain, the water, your money, will disappear. Just as a bathtub will slowly drain away water if the drain isn't plugged, your wealth will slowly disappear if you don't make wise financial decisions. Housel compares financial success to a game of Jenga. If you make too many risky moves, the tower, your wealth, will collapse. Just as Jenga requires careful, strategic moves to avoid collapse, financial success requires wise, strategic decisions to preserve and grow your wealth over time.
Lesson 6. The best financial plan is the one you can stick with. Story. Housel tells the story of his grandfather, who worked hard and saved diligently throughout his life, but was ultimately too frugal to enjoy the fruits of his labor. This story highlights the importance of finding a financial plan that you can stick with and that allows you to enjoy your life. Another example of the importance of sticking with a financial plan comes from the story of Warren Buffett, who has been successful in part because of his ability to stick with a long-term investment strategy. Analogy. Housel compares financial planning to dieting. If the plan is too restrictive, you're unlikely to stick with it. Just as a restrictive diet is difficult to maintain long-term, a financial plan that's too rigid or restrictive is unlikely to be successful in the long run. Housel compares financial planning to running a marathon. It's a long journey that requires persistence and dedication. Just as running a marathon requires persistence and dedication to finish the race, financial planning requires persistence and dedication to achieve your long-term goals.
Lesson 7. Saving is a prerequisite to investing. Story. Housel tells the story of a friend who was eager to start investing, but didn't have any savings to begin with. This friend ended up making risky investments and losing money. Another example of the importance of saving comes from the story of John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard Group. Bogle was known for his frugal lifestyle and commitment to saving, which helped him build a successful investment firm. Analogy. Housel compares investing without savings to building a house without a foundation. It's a recipe for disaster. Just as a house without a foundation will collapse, investing without savings can lead to financial disaster. Housel compares saving to planting a seed. It's a small investment that can grow into something much larger over time. Just as a small seed can grow into a large tree over time, saving small amounts of money can grow into significant wealth over time.
Lesson 8. The power of compounding is the most important factor in growing your wealth. Story. Housel tells the story of a man who started investing at age 25 and saved $1,000 per year until age 35. He then stopped saving and let his investments grow for the next 30 years. By age 65, his $10,000 investment had grown to over $450,000 thanks to the power of compounding. Another example of the power of compounding comes from the story of a woman who invested in the S&P 500 index for 40 years and ended up with over $1 million in retirement savings. Analogy. Housel compares the power of compounding to a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but grows larger and larger over time. Just as a snowball grows larger and larger as it rolls down a hill, your investments can grow larger and larger thanks to the power of compounding. Housel compares the power of compounding to a tree growing over time. It starts small, but grows larger and stronger over time. Just as a tree grows larger and stronger over time, your investments can grow larger and stronger over time thanks to the power of compounding.
Lesson 9. Risk and reward are two sides of the same coin. Story. Housel tells the story of a man who invested in a risky startup and ended up losing all of his money. This story highlights the importance of understanding the risks involved in any investment. Another example of the relationship between risk and reward comes from the story of hedge fund manager Paul Tudor Jones, who made a fortune by taking risks in the market. Analogy. Housel compares risk and reward to a seesaw. The higher the potential reward, the higher the potential risk. Just as a seesaw moves up and down depending on the weight on each side, the risk and reward of an investment move up and down depending on the potential gains and losses. Housel compares risk and reward to surfing. Just as a surfer must take risks to catch big waves, investors must take risks to achieve big gains. But like surfing, investing also requires caution and careful evaluation of risks to avoid wiping out.
Lesson 10. Money can buy happiness, but only to a certain extent. Story. Housel tells the story of a woman who won $5 million in the lottery, but was ultimately no happier than before she won. This story highlights the fact that money alone cannot guarantee happiness. Another example of the limitations of money comes from the story of Howard Hughes, who had all the money in the world but still struggled with mental health issues and loneliness. Analogy. Housel compares money to a hammer. It's a tool that can be used to build something, but it's not the only tool you need. Just as a hammer alone is not enough to build a house, money alone is not enough to achieve happiness. Housel compares money to fuel for a car. It's necessary to get the car moving, but it's not the destination. Just as fuel is necessary to move a car, money is necessary to achieve certain goals, but it's not the ultimate source of happiness and fulfillment.
And there you have it. In The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel offers a wealth of insights into the complex and often counterintuitive world of personal finance. Through compelling stories and analogies, he shows how our emotions and biases can impact our financial decisions and offers practical advice for building wealth over the long term. By understanding the importance of simplicity, patience, and humility in financial planning, we can all learn to make smarter choices and achieve our financial goals. Thanks for tuning in. And subscribe for your top 10 book lessons.